Hi, I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult style flicks. And this week I am reviewing a movie that has been named one of, if not the goriest movie of all time. This movie was released in 1992. In North America, it was released in 1993. And it was written and directed by Peter Jackson, and also written by Stephen Sinclair and Francis Walsh. And produced by Jim Booth. Made by Wingnut Films, the New Zealand Film Commission, and Avalon Studios Limited. Distributed by Oral Films, as well as Trimark. Ladies and gentlemen, Dead Alive AKA Braindead. The movie opens in Skull Island, which Peter Jackson did because he is a huge fan of King Kong. Which, heck, 13 years later came full circle as he got to direct the remake to King Kong. We see two men on an island carrying a cage with a monkey inside, and a bunch of native tribesmen from this island trying to stop them. They do not want them leaving the island with that monkey.
Permit! Looky see! Permit! Permit!
Yeah, because I imagine they would understand the concept of a permit.
I'm a New Zealand zoo official, and this monkey is going to Newtown.
Okay, I will believe they understand the concept of a gun. So they pick up the cage and run to the Jeep.
The little bugger bit me!
Could be worse. Could have flung some poo at you. Monkeys love to do that. Then again, that would be a lot less gross than what's going to happen later in this movie. Because of this bite, the locals helping him decide they have to stop the Jeep and fix him up. Okay, on second thought, I think it would have been better if you would have just gotten poo flinged at you. But hey, at least the natives deliver the monkey to the plane so it can be taken to a New Zealand zoo. And yes, in case you're wondering, that was a little difficult to say. Then we go to New Zealand to a little shop with a little Latino woman, the lead of this film, Paquita. She is getting a tarot reading from her grandmother to find out if the guy she has a crush on is the man she's gonna marry.
But he doesn't look like Roger.
It is not Roger.
Okay, well, it's a freaking card. Go marry who you want. But the reading gets broken up by a customer. Okay, I feel as somebody who works in retail, it is very annoying when somebody comes in and needs help, but then won't pay attention to you. But you do need improvement on your customer service skills. And if I'm telling you that, then you know it's bad. But then, because of both her tarot reading and the fact that he drops some black licorice, she realizes something. I could never fall in love with somebody who eats black licorice. But that customer, Lionel, is freaked out by this. Which I can imagine he probably doesn't get hit on by a lot of Latino women. Or any women, for that matter. Once Lionel gets home, he gets about doing his chores. Even though he's a grown man, he lives with his mother and he does chores for her because Lionel is, well, he's, bitch! Yeah. But soon after, Paquita shows up with his grocery delivery. This is before the days of DoorDash, kids. Back then, if a place delivered, somebody who actually worked there showed up with it. Which was nicer because if they messed up or stole something, there was actually some accountability, meaning you could do something about it. And since Paquita reads way too much into that tarot reading, she convinces Lionel to ask her out and take her to the zoo the next day. Because life is really just that kind. Things at the zoo are going great until they see the rat monkey. Oh my god! That monkey's made of clay! A crazy zoo worker comes by who explains that that rat monkey comes from an island where a bunch of big rats came over from a slave ship.
And right, all the little tree monkeys.
Sounds plausible. Paquita needs to sit down. That rat monkey was too much for her. But as she's sitting and Lionel and her are talking, we see that Lionel's mother is spying on them.
Mom!
And this mother's is why you step aside and just let your kids date hot Latinas. But his mom gets her revenge on that monkey. That was very rare, and somebody died getting it there. So I'm imagining you're no longer welcome at that zoo.
Dad, Take me home.
So Lionel picks up his mother and takes her home, leaving Paquita alone at the zoo. Not a chance in hell I would have done that. Don't get me wrong, I loved my mother, and she wasn't nearly as toxic as this woman. But still, if I had a chance with a hot Latina who was actually begging me to take them out, I'd be like, Mom, I understand you just got bit by a monkey, but you're walking. But that night, Paquita comes to Lionel's house.
We go out again? To a movie?
There is no way that woman is going to pursue a nerdy little mama's boy that hard. I don't care how into tarot cards she is.
It's just not possible.
Are you crazy? This never happens, dude. Trust me. You have a better chance of winning the lottery. Before she leaves, though, he finally comes to his senses. Dumbass. But in the other room, his mom is not doing well. She is agonizing over that monkey bite. Maybe you need some antibiotics or something. And a touch of Neosporin wouldn't hurt either. Lionel's mom is about to receive an honor, and the people giving it to her are now there. For lunch.
Oh.
I would just tell them Mom's not doing too well right now. Instead, he decides to super glue that back to her face. During lunch, Lionel's mom is not feeling herself, which is pretty obvious. What is also pretty obvious is that those steaks are really overcooked. And then during dessert, his mother adds an ingredient to the custard.
Damn fine custard.
I myself prefer frozen custard. Or at least I used to. Thank you, Peter Jackson. Mother is falling apart. And that's the moment her guests have finally had enough. I'd have been out of there the moment you put those overcooked steaks down in front of me. Paquita comes over to warn Lionel that during another tarot card reading, her grandmother saw bad things are starting to happen. Among those bad things, she was not talking about the movie. Just then they hear Mother.
Your mother ate my dog!
How awkward. Paquita runs to get his mother's nurse.
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
Good for you. I mean, I'm sorry this technically makes you an orphan now. They did mention his father drowned mysteriously. But your mom's toxic, dude. Like worse than Jeanette McCurdy's. And now you can date. But suddenly...
She loved you very much.
Oh. Now Lionel can't date again. Not only is Mother back... But in reaction to this, Lionel gives the nurse the bird. Heads up! When Paquita comes down with a bag for his mother to go to the hospital because she was not aware that she had passed, Lionel has locked both the nurse and his mom in the basement and tells Paquita that his mom's at the hospital. I get that sometimes the truth is actually more unbelievable than a lie, but what are you going to do when she has to start running? Lionel, of course, is freaked.
Well, I go now.
Yeah, when a man's going through something like this, nobody cares. Lionel's big plan for his mom and the nurse is to get some tranquilizers so he can keep giving them sedatives. And after doing that, he goes to see Paquita.
Tell me about these dark forces.
Oh, they are horrible, rotten forces. Like forces that take movies that we used to love as we were kids, growing up. Things that were iconic in our childhood, and then remaking them more and more terrible! So Paquita takes Lionel to her grandmother.
It will protect you.
That's what they told Renfield. But now Mother comes to see Lionel. He quickly gives his mom another sedative, but this makes people think that she's not just passed out, she's dead. So a funeral must be had. And at this funeral we meet Uncle Les. But we'll be getting more of him. But while that's going on, Lionel is looking for his mother's body to give her another sedative before they bury her. Good plan. But in the embalming room, things are going a little awry. The Undertaker's assistant there is a cameo of the director, Peter Jackson. Obviously a very young Peter Jackson. Since Lionel couldn't get to his mother in the embalming room, he tries one more time in the coffin. She gives him a hand. He gets a quick injection on her again, but not before they crash into the main room of this church where they're having the funeral. Everyone assumes that she is dead and he's just a ridiculously overattached son. Which they're kind of right. That night, Lionel goes back to his mother's grave. And at the cemetery, he encounters a few people that do well near the time. And one of them decides that while they're beating on Lionel, he's going to relieve himself on his mother's grave. Kinda deserve that. That's just nasty. Out of the 3 ne'er-do-wells left, 2 of them get away, Mother gets the other one. So now Lionel has 3 zombies after him. But Lionel gets some help from the priest.
I kick ass for the Lord.
Yeah! And he does. That priest is a badass. I really wanted a movie just about that priest. But unfortunately, that happened. One of those zombies was taken out, but this still leaves Lionel with 4 zombies to deal with. And his brilliant plan is to keep giving him sedatives over and over and over again. This is such a stupid plan. Like, I get this was set in the 50s, but come on! Uncle Les stops by and Lionel quickly shoos him away because he's got some business to attend to. Really? And this leads to this. Sure. So Lionel does the reasonable thing to do. Never mind. That's not the reasonable thing to do. The reasonable thing would have been to kill it with fire! The baby gets loose, so Lionel has to go wrangle it. Fighting it, basically. Everybody just assumes it's a normal baby, yet they watch this happen. Do nothing. I imagine if I believed a guy was beating up a baby, I'd want to step in. Especially if it was a nerdy guy like that I know I could take. When Lionel gets the baby home...
It's quite a collection of stiffs you got down there.
Which is again why you should have just destroyed the zombies. But as Uncle Les is getting ready to report him, he does say that if he were to get a share of the estate...
I might be more inclined to protect a member of the family.
It's no surprise that he is scum. I mean, look at that jacket. Good people don't dress that way. So because of this, Lionel agrees to give Uncle Les the money and the house.
Blood is thicker than water, Lionel.
Now, feed him to the zombies. Instead, Uncle Les decides to throw a party, even though he believes that there are dead, rotting corpses in his basement. I'd want to get rid of those before I threw a party. Or just not throw a party. Paquita comes by to talk to Lionel, and she needs to quickly get away from his pervy uncle. As she's getting away, guess which room she goes into?
Hello?
Of all the darn luck. We'll explain this. He tells her he doesn't know what to do with them.
You must destroy them.
Duh! But he can't. Because it's his mommy. I loved my mother too, but if my mom had tried to eat me, I would have cremated her again.
That thing is not your mother.
True. It's also a lot more pleasant. So they inject each zombie with poison and bury them. So problem solved. No more zombies. Yeah, right. We still got like 30 minutes of this movie left. But upstairs, Uncle Les is still very sore in more ways than one about Paquita. So he throws Lionel into the basement and locks him in and takes Paquita into the other room. But then Lionel notices a warning on the bottle of poison, saying that it's not fit for human consumption. Isn't that a no-duh thing? Is any poison fit for human consumption? Luckily, somebody upstairs lets Lionel out of the basement. Unluckily, they end up getting what he was going to get. Lionel gets into the room with Paquita and Uncle Les. But the zombies are coming, so Uncle Les, thinking about himself, breaks the window and gets outside. They are able to get out of the room. Uncle Les, on the other hand, is stuck in the backyard, surrounded by zombies, because now there's many, many more. Everyone alive at the party is just trying to beat these zombies to the punch. She didn't. Lionel goes upstairs. Because they always do in these movies. I think he's trying to say something. Paquita is trapped with another partygoer named Rita, and they are dealing with their own zombie when Paquita gets a bright idea. Back to Lionel, he's dealing with his own crap. Back to Rita. She did want kids, but not anymore. Paquita gets the baby zombie in a blender, but she's having second thoughts. She doesn't know if she can do that to that baby. She can. Direct hit! But Uncle Les gets to the window and Paquita and Rita let him in. I wouldn't. They fight their way out of that room, and Uncle Les ends up in the basement. Finally. Oh! Yes! Yes! Suddenly, Lionel.
Party's over.
He goes straight down, mowing down these zombies. Literally. This is why, by the way, this is one of the goriest movies ever made. It is said they used somewhere around 300 liters of fake blood just for the ending. Now that is a quality mower. But it turns out he has one left. And it wants to go for a spin. Rita's got a headache. Maybe give her a few ibuprofen. Or that. Paquita finds Lionel. That's gonna take hours to clean up. But now, Mother!
Come to mommy, Lionel.
That's a big mama. They gotta get away from her, so they run upstairs. And this is from the guy who later brought you Lord of the Rings. They get all the way to the roof.
You don't scare me, Mum.
I would be. I was scared of my mom when she did a lot less than that. But Lionel starts to remember something from his past, a repressed memory. I'm glad you're coming to terms with your father's death, but this really isn't the time. Mother starts swallowing Lionel through her stomach. 'Cause why not? But Lionel still has the medallion. And Mother falls. Now to get Paquita out of there. The fire department shows up. Paquita and Lionel are safe. But they might want to start looking into renting an apartment. Ew! I get that they're in love and they just went through a tragedy, but wash that off first. So there you have it. That's the cult classic, Dead Alive, AKA Braindead. This movie was a bit of a box office bomb as it had a $3 million budget and did about $243,000 in the US. And didn't do that much better in New Zealand where it came from. However, once it was released to VHS, it quickly regained its money back. It became an instant cult hit. The reason for the two titles, though, is that in North America it was released as Dead Alive. In New Zealand and everywhere else in the world it was released as Braindead. The reason for that is because in America, somebody had a copyright over a movie named Braindead. And they couldn't get around it even though this movie Braindead was one word and that movie Braindead was two words. They had to give it a new name. Either name works. Obviously this is one of Peter Jackson's earlier works. The same guy that would go on to, like I talked about in the review, direct the remake to King Kong and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where he'd win an Oscar. So you see, kids, a lot of great directors get their start from movies like this. Then again, the guy who directed the first 3 Spider-Man movies did Evil Dead. This movie, though, was so gory and considered just downright disgusting that in some countries, like Sweden, when you went into a video store to rent a copy of the movie, it came with a vomit bag. Nowadays, people watch this kind of stuff and just go, yeah, whatever. They'll eat chili while watching this movie. But at the time, yeah, it was incredibly gory, very disgusting. If you're watching my review, you're like, it didn't seem that gory and disgusting. Obviously, I had to cut a lot of that out. Even what I'm throwing in might get me in a little bit of trouble. It is impressive, though, that they were able to do this with $3 million, even though their first budget was supposed to be $4.5 million. Not much more, but more. Especially when you consider the fact that these are all practical effects. It's no CGI. It's also impressive when you consider the movie itself was only shot in 11 weeks. Funny enough, the United States and Canada is not the only area where it got a different name than its original Braindead. The Spanish title of this movie was Tu madre se ha comido a mi perro, which translates to, Your mother ate my dog! Which is probably my favorite line in the movie. Either way, like I said, despite the fact that it didn't have a very impressive box office, this movie was considered a success. It is a cult hit, and it led to Peter Jackson doing more movies like this. Low budget, well received, but ultimately kind of goofy and weird, to the point that he eventually got to do Lord of the Rings. So, in very many ways, it's thanks to this gore fest that we got Lord of the Rings. So thank you, Dead Alive. This movie was even enjoyable for somebody like me, who is admittedly not a big zombie fan, but it's a horror comedy, so you should be able to enjoy it too. So therefore, if you haven't seen Dead Alive, AKA Braindead, then I highly recommend you check out Dead Alive, AKA Braindead. So there you have it, that's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, and subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Dead Alive, AKA Braindead. Love you guys.